Hello everyone, I'm FARMERSIM. COURSEPLAY's back. Tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it really does feel like Christmas right now, quite frankly, and it just goes to show you how busy Tensuko and the COURSEPLAY development team have been in the background since the release of Farming Simulator 25. So this is the COURSEPLAY beta version 8.0.0.0. It was released yesterday, the 22nd of December 2024, and it is, so far, the bits and bobs that I've tested, is absolutely brilliant. There's a handful of new features included in this version that I don't remember being in Farming Simulator 22 version. Needless to say, like I say, it is a beta version, but so far everything I've done has worked pretty much flawlessly. I've not tested everything, of course, every aspect of the game, all the different features. I've not had a go at the grapevine usage of COURSEPLAY or anything like that, but I have used a combine harvester, I've used an unloader using the COURSEPLAY function of unloader, I've had a go with a baler, and I've had a go with a couple of cultivators, a disc harrow and a normal cultivator, and everything works perfectly, quite frankly. There's also, like I say, a couple of really nice new features which I will demonstrate to you very shortly. And like I say, that this video isn't going to be a massively in-depth look at COURSEPLAY, of course, because it's in its beta version. There is going to be updates and changes and bug fixes and all that kind of stuff over the coming weeks and months. But it is just to show you that it exists now. There will be a link in the video description below to the COURSEPLAY development GitHub page where you can download this beta version. And go for your life with it, because it's absolutely brilliant so far. Now, of course, Farming Simulator 25 has had its new, the new AI worker system from that Giants have created for the new game. Now, of course, that does work very, very well. That's all I've been using since the game's release, and for all intents and purposes, 99% of the time, it works absolutely flawlessly, and it's really good. But it doesn't have certain features that COURSEPLAY does. For example, being able to run an unloader to unload a combine and take it to a tip point of your choosing, for example, and a handful of other bits and bobs as well. So without further ado, let's jump in and have a look at the new user interface for the new version of COURSEPLAY. Right, so you're in your vehicle, you're in your field. In this case, as you can see, we're in our Class 450 Evian, and we need to create ourselves a course to get this harvest done. So first and foremost, to bring up the COURSEPLAY heads-up display user interface, you use the delete key by default key binding on your keyboard. So pressing delete, and that brings up the all too familiar COURSEPLAY heads-up display it's pretty much exactly the same as it was in FARMERSIM 22, but it's got the FARMERSIM 25 green top to it there. So as you can see, we have no course loaded into this particular harvester. So let's jump right in. The way to bring up the main user interface at the minute anyway for this, because there isn't one that's integrated into the main menu system of the game at the minute anyway, is just click on the vehicle name there, and it brings you straight into the vehicle settings for this particular vehicle. Now, of course, most of these features are essentially brought over from Farming Simulator 22. Reading from a bit of the text from the download in the GitHub for this version of COURSEPLAY, it says push release 8.0.0.0. Please read this is the initial FS25 migration. While almost all functions from FARMERSIM 22 are implemented back in, except the drawing fields on the map, they can still have errors and not function correctly in some situations. They have added a keybind to generate a course when standing with the vehicle in the field. By default, this is Control and G. The settings are used from the generator menu, and I'll show you that in a few moments' time. The help menu is mostly up to date, but some details might not be correct, for example custom fields due to missing features. The course editor has been disabled and will be re-added later, and better controller support will come with later versions. So that's essentially that. Now I actually use a controller for most of my work in Farming Simulator, and so far There's been a couple of things that haven't quite worked, but that's just like exiting out of a menu, for example, which really doesn't matter at all to me, so that's all good. So anyway, right, we're in the vehicle settings here. In fact, we'll start at the very top. So the global settings, as we were no doubt familiar with from Farming Simulator 22, you can adjust your driver wages. I always tend to I set mine down to 0% because I only really use COURSEPLAY to replicate my work in the fields. You've got the adjustment on the automatic repair, which will stop the COURSEPLAY drivers depending on the percentage of damage that you have for the vehicle set there. Fuel threshold, again, when the driver will stop if the fuel percentage is less than the percentage that you set it as. Wait for refueling. Broken threshold, again, same thing. Driver will be released if the vehicle or an implement is more broken. 100% is off. Of course, stop harvesters while it's raining. Needs no explanation, does it? And the AI helper fruit destruction activated or deactivated. That's the global settings for COURSEPLAY there. You've got this next tab over here, which is user settings. Now, you can deactivate or activate expert mode, show all active courses on the in-game map. I have actually had that working. I think I might have put a little clip in that very short cinematic at the beginning of this video, just highlighting when you're in a particular part of the in-game map, you will see all the vehicles that you have running on the map and the courses displayed in those fields. Show courses on the minimap, activated or deactivated. This function isn't quite working at the minute, but obviously no doubt that will be sorted in the near future. The action event help, activated or deactivated. This, I believe, is linked into the info text window that I always have deactivated. If I activate that, like for example there, and come back out of it, that is this bar here that usually by default sits up here. I never really have any use for that. I don't really do anything with that, so I always turn that off. So let's go back into there, just for me anyway, so I deactivate that info text window. Player mouse event, activated or deactivated. This just gives you the option to do stuff with your mouse when you are in the vehicle or outside the vehicle. Prefer custom fields, activated or deactivated, quite simply, and the distance unit, the measurements, you can have it in meters or feet, quite simply. So that's that. Now we are then in the vehicle settings for the particular vehicle you're in this case it's the harvester. Open, so you can show the course, deactivated, all waypoints, current waypoints will start stop only, but you can also change that from the mini heads-up display on screen. Open HUD with mouse. Again, most of these don't need any introduction or explanation, do they? You can open the HUD with mouse using your mouse click. Fuel save, turning in the field, avoid driving in fruit, activated or deactivated. Allow reverse for pathfinding, allow using the pathfinder in the turns, activated or deactivated. We had all these settings in the 22 version and they've basically just been migrated into 25. Again, all these different settings, raising and lowering tools. I always have mine set to raise tools late and lower tools early. By default, it's the other way around. The horizontal offset setting, of course, depending on the tools that you're using. Again, combine settings, all exactly the same as they were in 22. You can obviously amend these to whichever way you prefer to play the game, and the different level of percentage you can have to call the unloader at. I have this set to 90% at the minute. I've also, at the minute, I've got the straw swath deactivated because I've been running in this particular field multiple times, and there's about 3 or 4 different straw swaths just piled on top of each other under the crop that we're just about to harvest, so I've just deactivated that for the purposes of that. Speeds, of course, just altering the different speeds, I suppose, just down to how you prefer to play it. And you've got the vehicle debug there, activated or deactivated. I've never really had any use for that, so that's for, I suppose, people who understand the mod in its depths far more than I do. So, the next tab down from there, we have the helper settings and the fieldwork settings in here. So, when you come into here for the first time, it's automatically on COURSEPLAY fieldwork. It recognises the vehicle and the position you're at, and this is where you can alter the start point from first, last or nearest. But again, you can do all this from the heads-up display that's on screen. Fieldwork settings, this is where you can change the characteristics of the field course that you're just about to plot. Again, we had pretty much all of these settings in the later version of the FARMERSIM 22 version of COURSEPLAY. So again, it recognises the width of the header that we've got, or the tool that you've got attached, and you can, at the minute, 5 vehicles, much like the 22 version, is the maximum number of vehicles you can have in a field. At the minute, obviously, we've only got the one. We're going to run 2 headlands. We're going to now. This setting is something that did appear in the latter version of the 22 version. Narrow field, activated or deactivated. It generates the headland only at the short edges of the field. Going to keep that deactivated for now. Obviously, we're in a harvester, so we'll start work on the headland. And again, these are all just the different settings that you can set depending on how you like to play the game and get COURSEPLAY working for you. The headland overlap, I always used to increase that a bit just to make sure it didn't miss bits on corners. By default, it's set at 7%. Sometimes I throw that right up to 25%. Back in 22 anyway. Field margin, now this is essentially, like it says there, positive values reduce the field size, negative values increase the field size. So if I go down to the left here and reduce that to, like, for example, -1, that will bring the course here further out to the edge of the field in all directions, so that would essentially, if you were finding the tool that you were using would miss areas along the edge of the field, then that's where it would increase that, and you'd reduce the chance of missing those edge bits of the field. Right, so and now it's not letting me go back in there for some reason. Let me just jump back out again, go back in. Like I say, these are the things that we are, so these are the things that are occurring, I suppose, because it is the beta version. But yeah, there we go. And that was because I was doing that on a controller, so that was probably that. So yeah, field margin, you can reduce that or increase that depending on, you know, the characteristics of the vehicle that you are using. Settings center obviously governs the center performance of the course that you're plotting. Up and down rows, of course, you can change that to up and down, spiral, lands, racetrack, or back to up and down. Center direction, clockwise or counterclockwise. Even row width, again, this is a function that appeared in the latter version of 22. It reduces the working width to achieve an even distribution across all lanes. I've got that activated. The rows follow the field edge curve. This is where, at the minute, you can see that the course we have, let me just move that out of the way a bit. The course we have is plotting perfectly straight center rows. If we go back here and we say rows follow field edge curve, if I activate that, and we'll need to plot the course again. Well, now we got that activated, you'll see the difference in that. So yeah, and that's pretty much that. Rows to skip, 0 or 1 or whatever. That, in my opinion, that's down to the size of the machinery you're using. So if we had a massive planter on an articulated tractor, for example, we want to skip a couple of rows just to give that machine a helping hand when it comes to turning at the end of each row and moving around to the next row. So yeah, but with this thing, because it's relatively small, we don't need to worry about skipping rows because it's got a relatively tight turning circle. Island bypass mode, activated or deactivated. Obviously, again, needs no explanation. If you have an island in the middle of your field, you can activate or deactivate the bypass mode, and it will plot a course around that island. Island headlands, again, how many headlands you're going to run around the island if you have one in your field, and again, the direction that it'll run around that island, quite simply. So that's that. Vine settings, of course, this is for your grapes and olive settings. I haven't actually put that to the test yet, but yes, that's pretty much for that. Back to the map again. Now if we go to the next tab, this is again, we had this function in FARMERSIM 22 where you can save your courses. So you create a folder, for example here, with for the field that you're working in. I've already been messing around with this, so we've got field 59 created and field 76, which is the one we're in, and this is the course that we had saved, but that's one that we have saved. We're going to plot another one now. So there we go, let's go to that. So as you can see, just an example of that different setting for the how it runs at the center rows, whether it follows the field edge or not. At the minute, it's set to straight lines, and it was, where are we? Rows follow field edge curve. We've now activated that. So if we go back to here and generate the field work course there, hopefully. Oh, it has clicked. Oh, goodness me. It's overlaid, hasn't it? That's a right mess, isn't it? So let's come out of that. And we shall unload that course. Go back in. I suppose this is the joy of doing things on the fly. But it seems to have held that one loaded up. But the main point is, so that we can crack on with this, if you have that rows follow field edge curve activated, you'll see these kind of the center rows will follow the edge of the curve. Essentially, that's the point I'm trying to make. So right, anyway, so that's the the course manager section where you can save your courses in the folders that you create for the particular fields. And down here, of course, you've got the COURSEPLAY general information and help section. So if you needed to read up on a few things in a bit more detail, you've got all this here, and there's quite a lot of information in here to be frank. So, right, we've got the field, we've got the course generated anyway. It's automatically done that, hasn't it? So we can come back out of here. It's done it again, hasn't it? Right, anyway, I'll get this field course generated, and I'll put you up in a second. Right, so I've got that harvester course that I'd saved loaded into the combine harvester right here, and as you got, obviously we've got all the nodes visible, and as you can see, for those of you who haven't used COURSEPLAY before, that what you see in front of you there is essentially the route that the harvester is going to follow. Obviously, being a harvester, we've set it to run the COURSEPLAY, the headlands first. That blue circle there highlights the starting point of the whole course. It's going to start from here. It's going to run 2 headlands and then run the centre rows to finish off. And that's the route that it's going to plot. But one really cool function and feature of this new version of COURSEPLAY. So if I'm down here using the heads-up display, you have, if you click on the eye, that basically just brings the different levels of the nodes into view. So you can either have the start and the finish, you can have the next few visible essentially, and then the whole thing, or back to nothing again. What this button does here, this little circle with a line through it, that basically unloads the course that you currently have loaded up. So at the minute we have this harvester course loaded up, but I'm going to unload that, and this new function, which this auto generator course using a keybind, Control and G. So we now have no course loaded into the combine harvester. I'm going to press Control and G, boom, give it a second, and there you go. It has brought up, generated another course, which is almost identical to the one that we were just running, and it uses the same settings that we set within the settings for this vehicle in the course generator. So it's the right width, it's 6.2 meters, it's going to run 2 headlands, it's got the same corner characteristics, and it's going to run the up and down rows, obviously, last. And that's absolutely brilliant. So you're free to do that as many times as you want. You can unload it, go back into the COURSEPLAY generator, amend some settings, generate the course, or you can come back out again, just press Control and G when you're in the vehicle, and boom, a couple of seconds later, you've got your course, and that's absolutely brilliant. So, right, so let's click on go. That's going to get going. There you go. He's off on his merry way. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to let that thing crack on. And this is the bit that I've been excited about as well. It's the ability to now run an unloader, a tractor and trailer, to work with that combine harvester, empty it when it needs emptying, and take it to a tip point of your choosing. Right, so we've got the tractor and trailer. The harvester's on its way. Now we do have some grain in the trailer of this particular vehicle, because this has been busy on and off for the last several hours as I've been putting this to the test. But let's pull ourselves into the field, and much like we did with the course creation for the combine harvester, using our mouse. Now if you want to activate or deactivate your mouse, as you can see I can do it there, using the right click on screen. So I right click and it now freezes the movement of the mouse and it brings up the mouse cursor, so I'm free to utilize the heads up display here. So we click on the vehicle. Again, same settings that we found for all the different vehicles. I'm sure those of you who've used COURSEPLAY are more than familiar with this. So we want to create a job for this one. We want to unload the combine harvester. So ignore that. That's a complete mess. That doesn't relate to this one. So we're unloading the combine. It's recognised that because we have a trailer on board. We're in the right field. The target position and field position, it's registered that. Okay, so all that's good. So unload the combine harvester, and this now jumps into and utilises the base game unloader function, the kind of like the GPS, the satellite navigation base game thing that allows vehicles to go to and from, like the loading and unloading and tipping function that we had in base game. But what's really good about this, as you can see here, I have, let me try and get rid of that, can't seem to get rid of that box there displaying the tractor, but over here next to this field I have placed down my own silo, and I've named that FARMERSIM silo just so that we can find it easy. So on here, the Giants unloader, we've got it activated. This is the base game function that allows vehicles to take things back and to different sell points. Now we want to find, these are all the different parts of all the different tip points and sell points that are on the map. We want to find, now that one says silo, but that's not the one we want. We want the one that says FARMERSIM silo. There we go. It's automatically found that itself, which is absolutely brilliant. So, and that's literally just there. So we're going to start job. There we go. We've now got 2 vehicles working. Let's come out of this. Now ignore that. The fact that it's kind of driving into the crop. I haven't been able to determine what point it uses to start from, but essentially this, every single time I've done it with this particular tractor and trailer, it brings itself to this area of the field and stops and waits for its next instruction, which will be the combine harvester, which is running up there. So we're going to wait for that to work. Now, as you can see, I'm going to jump out of here actually, and I'm going to show you because it just really surprised me, and I just thought it was a really awesome thing. So I've placed down this whopping great big silo here in the middle of what was a field. I've painted over it with grass, and I've painted down a relatively rudimentary in and out access point into the silo, just so that it's not driving over grass. So you've got the, you know, some tarmac for it to drive over into the silo, tip, and drive out again. Now, it doesn't necessarily, it's not that it recognises the tarmac. It wouldn't matter if this was tarmac or crop or grass or anything, because it didn't drive out of here. But it's still, at the minute, it's still extremely clever, because it finds its way to this custom sell point, which wasn't, or custom tip point, sorry, which wasn't on the map to start off with. It's not part of the base game. It just finds it. It locates the tip trigger, it tips at it, and then it turns it around and makes its way back to the field to carry on for the next trailer load, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Now, you'll have to forgive me, because I don't know whether that function was part of the Farming Simulator 22 version. What I'm explaining here and showing you here is what I used to use AutoDrive for all the time. AutoDrive did that, and obviously you recorded the AutoDrive course, and it basically followed the route that you told it to. So whether this was a function in the base version of the Farming Simulator 22 courseplay, I'm not too sure. But you can always tell when it's thinking as well. Now, as you can see, my frame rate is now dropped down to the 30s, and as you can see, when I'm moving around, it's a little bit jerky. That is a sure sign that that unloader, that tractor and trailer, was thinking about what it's going to do. Because when it flies back up to 60 and it smooths off, that's just showing you that the AI worker that's now being governed by courseplay is thinking and plotting a route to the harvester, and hopefully in a few seconds time it might start moving and finding its way to the harvester. So it can take a few minutes depending on where it is and what it's doing, just to figure out what it's doing. But yeah, that's it, kind of finding its way to the harvester. The harvester's on that side of the field there. It's coming to a stop. As you can see there, it's reversing, so it looks like it's going to cut its way into the next headland and wait for the unloader to come. Let's just see if it's going to do that for us. Don't let me down. Does look like it's moving quite far back there, though. Oh, there you go. No, it's dropped its header down. It's carving its way into the headland. It'll come to a stop. As you can see, the engine has just started up. We've dropped back down to 30 odd FPS because it's again, it just tanks that a little bit because it's using quite a bit of processor there to figure out where to go. But now that the harvester has come to a stop, it doesn't actually put its pipe out like it did in 22. The harvester only pulls its pipe out when the unloader gets close to it. So I think what it's going to do, because it's done this many times, is going to spin around to the left, possibly. Oh no, it's changed its characteristics since the last time I did it. But it looks like it will find its way around the edge of the field. Oh no, there we go. Now he's spinning round. But it's going to find its way to the combine, and I'll pick you up when it does, and we'll go from there. Right, here we go. It's just on the approach to the combine. It's very clever in respect of the way that it can avoid all the obstacles as well. Obviously, I've got traffic turned off at the minute because that would just be a nightmare, wouldn't it? So there you go. It pulls the pipe out when it detects the trailer pulling up alongside. Now, you can obviously set it to stop while unloading or you can, if you deactivate that, the tractor and trailer will follow the combine harvester as it's moving up and you know, as it's harvesting. But that doesn't necessarily work 100% of the time, so there's a little bit too much stuff going on in there for me to include in this video. But it does work. It does work. But this was one of the reasons why I left the grain in the trailer for the purposes of this demonstration, so that we're now already 100% full, and I'm just hopeful, fingers crossed, that for the purposes of this demonstration, the vehicle will sit here for a moment or two, figure out where it's got to go. In this case, it needs to make its way down the road a few feet and hang a left into my custom silo, and hopefully I'll be able to show you that in the demonstration. So fingers crossed this works. Right, so after a few minutes of dithering around, I haven't stopped or started it, I've just left it to its own devices. It's found its way out of the field, and it should now, hopefully, there we go, it's recognised where the trigger is, it's finding its own feet, there we go. It recognises that it's there. Don't stop and let me down there. Right, excellent. It recognises the tip point again, and as you can see, this is a cut, like I said before, this is a, you know, something I've just placed down, so it's not part of the base game map or anything like that. It tips all the grain as you'd expect it to do, and like I said before, this is what I was, obviously this is what I would use auto drive for. So when auto drive hopefully does come back for 25, this whole procedure will be much smoother and much more accurate. But the main point is, at the minute, it works, and I suppose that's kind of all that matters. So once it's tipped, like I said before, it doesn't really recognise that I've, you know, given it an exit point there. It just turns itself around and it finds its own way back to the field. And you can essentially fully automate the harvesting, collecting and tipping of your field work with a harvester anyway. Please don't hit that lamppost. So yeah, it's done that job relatively well. It's not avoiding the crop there, but I've got the AI helper fruit destruction turned off at the minute, so it gravitates for some reason back to roughly this part of the field, and it stops. But the harvester is now waiting again to be unloaded, so it stops for a second, recognises that relatively quickly, and it's making its way back to the harvester again. So, I mean, that's pretty brilliant. Let's be honest, isn't it? It really is. Please excuse all the straw swaths that I've got lying around the field. That's, like I said before, that's from the multiple testing runs that I've put this through so far over the last few hours. But yeah, nice and simply finds its way back to line up with the harvester, and the process continues, and it will continue just like this, fully automated, until the job's done. One more very quick demonstration just with a completely different tractor and implement. We've got the Case 185 Puma here in a completely different field, and the Trefler TGA 560 cultivator. This has no course loaded into it, it's just parked on a field ready to work. Now obviously, depending on what settings that you have this vehicle set to within the COURSEPLAY course generator settings, you can literally just Control and G, which is so much easier than what we had to do previously. Control and G, you're free to save or unload and re-amend the different variants of the course setup if you want to, but just Control and G, hit go, and how about that? Really, really easy. It's absolutely amazing. It really is. And then you can jump out and leave that to its own devices. Now I think this one we do have the corner behaviour set to sharp corners, so what it'll do, much like in 22, it will recognise the sharp corner, it'll pull and lift up the implement, in this case the cultivator, it'll turn, line itself up again, it'll start reversing, drop it down and crack on. Now I know ordinarily with these kind of things you should really do the up and down rows first and finish off with the cultivator, but for the purposes of this demonstration I just wanted to show you that in action. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that is, hopefully relatively briefly, the first beta version of COURSEPLAY for Farming Simulator 25. Now, please forgive me, I know I did babble on a bit in those the last few clips, but I just felt there are certain details that I didn't want to gloss over. I wasn't planning on this video being much more than 20 to 25 minutes long. I'm not sure where we're at the minute, but it might be a little bit longer than that. But this is essentially, like I said, a roughly detailed, or slightly detailed view on this new version of COURSEPLAY. Now I've got this tractor and baler here, as you might have seen from the opening cinematic. This does still, again, behave in the same way that it did in Farming Simulator 22, and that's the reason why I'd saved that harvester course. So you run a harvester like that, you save the course, and then you essentially load up that course into a baler, into a tractor that's towing a baler, and it then runs the same course, picking up the straw swaths in exactly the same position that the harvester ran. And you can obviously you can do that with a baler or with a forage wagon, and it all works absolutely perfectly. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. COURSEPLAY for Farming Simulator 25. Of course, it's in its beta stages. There's going to be quite a few updates, and no doubt over the next coming weeks and months, but the main thing is it's here. And what a wonderful Christmas gift this has been from Tansuko and the COURSEPLAY development team. It just goes to show you how busy they've been in the background since the game's release. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, the main functions and features of the game, of the mod, sorry, are working brilliantly. That's all that matters to me anyway. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching the video. I really do appreciate your time. I hope you have enjoyed the video and found it a little bit interesting. I hope it whets your appetite to make you go and click the link in the video description below, get the mod downloaded, and get it running. So as always, if you're new to the channel and you like my content and you like the way I'm doing things, please consider hitting that subscribe button and jumping on board, joining the channel. Please give the video a like if you can. It does do wonders, helps the YouTube algorithm do its thing. And as always, there are a host of links in the video description below with my Giants Partner promo code. If any of you are in the market for purchasing Farming Simulator 25 and you like the idea of helping a content creator out and supporting their channel, as always, I would be massively appreciative. And as always, if any of you are looking for a multiplayer server to play with you and your mates, and you like the idea again of helping a content creator out and supporting the channel, as always, I'd be massively appreciated. My affiliate link for G-Portal will be in the video description below as well. Any support from that side of things is always massively appreciated. So thanks again for your time, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.